There's a mountain here before me, and I'm gonna climb it with strength not of my own. He's gonna lead me, the mountain beats me, carry me through, carry me through. There's a river here before me, and I'm gonna cross it with strength not of my own. He's gonna save me, the river takes me, carry me through, carry me through.
So then, add to your faith virtue, or moral excellence. To your moral excellence, knowledge. To your knowledge, temperance, or self-control. And to your temperance, patience, or, as some translations now say, steadfastness. What does it mean to be steadfast? Actually, the word that Peter uses here in the Greek is kind of difficult to translate. You can translate hupomone as perseverance. You can translate it as patience. You can translate it as steadfastness, and yet it still really doesn't totally catch the flavor of the original meaning of the word. Hupomone is comprised of two parts, which literally mean to bear up under. Bear up under. And that's really important, because W. Vine, when he's talking about this particular word, will say that it's talking about an endurance that can only be developed in the midst of trials. And I think the picture of bearing up under here is very, very important. When I was a kid, I was fascinated by a Russian weightlifter by the name of Vasily Alexiev. Some of you will remember him. He was an Olympic weightlifter who won gold medal after gold medal. He was 6'1", weighed 350 pounds, and I just remember this huge guy with a big belly who was amazingly strong. But when I think of hupomone, I think of Alexiev bearing up under. You're going to be watching him as he approaches a bar. He's going to be lifting over 535 pounds in this lift. Again, nearly 200 pounds more than his own body weight. You see him strain and stretch and push up on that bar, get it set once he lifts it, and then you see him press that bar on up. And the thing is, he's got to hold it. He's got to bear up under that weight. I watched men again and again get the weight up, and then they would teeter and totter and drop it, fall, twist, turn. He has to hold that weight under control for a couple of seconds to prove he's truly got it. And he strains as he does it before he brings it down. That, to me, is hupomone. That is bearing up under. And that's what Peter's talking about. Now, it's not accidental, I believe, that he sticks this where he does in this list of virtues. Because our ability to bear up under, I think, is going to be directly dictated by our faith and by our knowledge, for instance. But it's critical in our lives as children of God that we be willing to and able to bear up under what life throws at us. Remember, Jesus will talk about in the Sermon on the Mount, as he comes to the end of the Sermon on the Mount, in the book of Matthew chapter 7, how in the parable of the wise and foolish builders, the fact that storms are going to come our way in our lives. And if you remember, it's not if a storm comes, it's when the storms come. And the storms are going to come in all of our lives in various forms. The storms are going to come through financial challenges that we face. They're going to come through problems with our kids, problems in our marriage, health health issues, all kinds of things that bring pressure on us, that cause us to have to bear up under. When you go back and you look in Scripture, to me there are some poster children for this kind of thing. Joseph is one. Think about what Joseph had to bear up under all those years, knowing he'd been betrayed by his own family, sold into slavery, locked in prison for years with no hope or knowledge of when he's going to get out. And yet, what does that young man do? Through that whole ordeal, he bears up under. He never loses his faith. He continues to be faithful to his God. Later on, Job. Think about what Job endured. He loses everything. And he's pictured sitting on an ash heap with an old piece of a broken pot, scraping sores on his body. And yet, he bore up under this incredible weight of sorrow and loss that just had to be overwhelming. Yet he continued on. In the New Testament, there's Paul. When you read 2 Corinthians 11 and 2 Corinthians chapter 12, it just boggles my mind that this man remained faithful and steadfast under such incredibly difficult circumstances. I mean, he talks about going through persecution. He talks about hunger and shipwreck, and discusses all the times that he was hungry and in danger from various forces. And then, in chapter 12, he talks about that thorn in the flesh that he had, that he pleaded with God to take away, and yet God didn't take it away. And through all of it, what? Paul bore up under. This virtue of godly stubbornness, of perseverance, of steadfastness, this willingness to bear up under whatever loads come our way in life, is of such incredible importance. I'm so grateful for the family here at Fort Gibson and for the incredible examples that I've been blessed to see through the years of folks who are bearing up under incredible loads. Because in the process of showing us that example of hupomone, of bearing up under, they ennoble me. They strengthen me. They encourage me. And I'm sure they do you as well. I talked to Barrett about, do I name names of folks that I've watched bear up under? And as we discussed it, the challenge that I faced, and he agreed, was, I would have to name so many people, I would be ashamed if I forgot someone. Life throws us curves. Life throws us difficulties. It does. And when it does, it is so important that we bear up under, and that we see the examples of others who in similar circumstances have borne up under. I want to end by encouraging you to avail yourselves of the support that others are willing to bring when those difficult times come, and you're challenged to bear up under the trials and the difficulties and the weight that life can throw at us. As Paul will write in Galatians chapter 6, we are to bear one another's burdens and thus fulfill the law of Christ. There are going to be times when life is going to set things on your shoulders that you don't know if you have the strength to bear or not. And maybe you don't, but with help you do. And it's important that you swallow your pride and that you be willing to turn to others who are perfectly willing to help and allow them to help you bear those burdens. Steadfastness is an incredibly important virtue because it ultimately determines whether or not we cross the finish line. Faith's a wonderful thing. Self-control is a wonderful thing. Knowledge is a wonderful thing. Well, we're going to be talking about godliness and brotherly kindness, and those are all great virtues. But true spiritual success ultimately is going to be determined by our willingness to hang in there. As James will write in James chapter 1 and verse 12, blessed is the man who remains steadfast under trial. For when he has stood the test, he will receive the crown of life. I pray that in your discussion this evening, we'll be encouraged to hang in there, to remain steadfast, to bear up under the load. May we see it as important that we encourage each other with our example, and when we have opportunity, and maybe this evening we will, to bear the burdens of others. God bless you.
Hallelujah.
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 Hallelujah. Carry me through. Carry me